in 1979, after going through the whole situation with Noriega, you get extradited back into the U.S.
Correct.
What happens next?
So I get charged with heading the largest drug conspiracy in the United States. Never had a ticket. Never even a driving ticket. So I go in front of this judge, and he looks at me, and he said, the government says, we want $7 million bail. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy cow. Now think about it. There was never, the only reason you gave people high bails was for murder, right? Because they were a danger to the community. That's the only way you could justify. There was never no bail given, and nothing bigger than $50,000 to any drug dealer ever. And I'm like, I'm 23 years old. I got braces, and I'm like sitting there looking at my attorney and like, what are they talking about? So the U.S. attorney goes ahead and says, the judge sets it at $2 million. So I go to my attorney and say, I can pay for that. And he's like, no, you can't. He said, you set that bail tomorrow. He said, they'll keep that $2 million, raise the bail, and use that against you. So I'm like, all right. And at this time now, I had the most expensive drug lawyers in the world. Marty Weinberg out of Boston. I mean, we hired Alan Dershowitz to do my bail appeal, as a matter of fact, because no one had ever been denied bail for that. So the reason they ended up denying it is because this judge said to traffic in drugs to the level that Mr. Valdes does, not only is he a danger to his community, but his community is the whole United States. And that's how they gave me that bail. So I couldn't set it, no matter. But now, mind you, here I am in Miami, no indictment, sworn complaint. They tried to go to the grand jury in Miami, no indictment returned. That's the Southern District. They go to Middle District, no indictment returned. Northern District, no indictment returned. Why? Because I didn't get caught in the United States with nothing. You know, this was cocaine in Panama, number one, that was already sold, so there's not even no evidence of the cocaine. And so we're sitting there, and we ended up, through my lawyer, we ended up buying a magistrate. Well, at least he told me he did. I don't know if it was just to take the $500,000 from me or not. And the bail gets reduced to $500,000. But immediately the government appealed it back to $2 million. So we're sitting there, and the judge says, I'm going to give the government 30 days to return an indictment, or I'm going to cut them loose. And they had never kept anyone on a sworn complaint ever that long. So they go ahead, and after 6 months, we go to the hearing, and the judge says to the U.S. attorney, do you have an indictment? He said, no, Your Honor. Judge said, cut him loose. And within 2 seconds, you hear this marshal coming. Hold him, arrest him, arrest him. There was just an indictment returned in the Middle District of Georgia. I'm like, what? I never even been to Georgia in my life. What do you mean in the Middle District of Georgia? What they did is my co-defendant, Harold Rosenthal, had a case pending where he had left, literally faked his death. And this guy was unbelievable. Comes to the court and tells the judge, he said, well, welcome, Mr. Rosenthal. He said, Your Honor, I'm the second Jew to come back from the dead. So he had this indictment pending. And what does the government do? They said that I was his partner. You know, that all the cocaine that this guy brought, when I had only met this guy 3 months earlier. So now we are going to go to court. Got the most powerful legal team. I remember the judge looking at me and said, Mr. Valdes, how can you say you're innocent when you have $1 million worth of lawyers sitting at your table? I had Shelby Heisman, who became a federal judge, whose brother-in-law was in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal. Marty Weinberg charged me $100,000 just to tell me whether he would take my case or not. So I'm spending $1.5 million in attorneys, local counsel, and the government offers me a 2-year plea, which I could walk, because they had nothing on me. So our defense is this. I am a drug dealer. I'm the biggest drug dealer in the country. But what the hell did I do in Macon, Georgia? I have a constitutional right of venue. You got to try me. If anything, you got to try me in Miami. I've never been to Georgia. Never planned to be to Georgia. So my attorney says, take the deal. I said, I'm not taking no deal from these bastards. They bring in the captain of the Bolivian Air Force, which was our, middleman between us and the Bolivian government. And they bring him, and they charge him. I put a lawyer for him, and they charge him with being the guy that supplied me the cocaine. We go to trial. The guy gets found innocent. I get found guilty. And I'm like, if this son of a bitch didn't sell anything, what did I buy? So my attorney says, we petitioned the court to sentence him under the Youth Offender Act. You know, if you're younger than 25 and never committed a crime, ever, no felony, I didn't have a felony, misdemeanor, nothing, you have which will limit the amount of sentence you get. The judge said, not only do I believe that Mr. Valdes would not benefit from the Youthful Offender Act, I don't think he's going to benefit from the 15 years I'm going to give him right now. Now, 15 years now is nothing. You know, you look at all the sentences that are horrific and unbelievable. But 15 years at that time, every prison I went, it was the highest sentence in that prison. And I was $250,000 fine, 15 years parole. And I went to prison. And people said, well, prison definitely changed. I said, man, I got to be honest with you. I had a blast in prison. I was making the same amount of money I was making before. I had a woman. I had everything I wanted. I was surrounded by guys. First prison I walked into, half the guys that worked for me or someone that worked for me, they even had a big old cake waiting for me. They said, welcome home, boss. So I had a blast in the prison. I went to Tallahassee for 2 years, and then I was transferred to Egland Air Force Base. When I got there, they took me straight to the warden's office and said, how the hell did you get here? Because my case was called original jurisdiction, which means you are the head of a crime family. So I'm saying, I'm like, warden, you'll transfer me. I have a clean record, never done anything wrong. And he's like, who did you pay off? I said, you mean you pay people off in the Federal Bureau of Prison? Well, yeah, we paid $50,000 to the guy that was the designating officer at that time. And I got sent to Egland, and at Egland was just even worse, man. At Egland, I was like living the life. At Egland, they first tell me, you're not going to ever leave the camp. Because at Egland, most of the inmates, like 1/10 work inside the prison camp, cutting the grass and all that. Then the other 9/10 work out in the federal base. And it's great because you're out there with military, you're loose, you're all over the biggest Air Force base in the world. Well, they look at me like, don't you ever think that you're going to leave the camp. Fine. So I got me a job working, in the dental office as a dental hygienist. And it was great, man. It was just good hours. And anyway, they ended up suspecting that I was having an affair with the dental hygienist. Next thing you know, they transferred me to the base. So I get into the base, and they give me this big old redneck. And he's like, boy, I'm going to make your life miserable. I said, no, you're not. You think you are, but no, you're not. He said, well, we'll see. So we're in charge of cleaning the grass around the general's houses. Had a big old truck. We kept all our equipment in there. So one day I walked up to him and I said, sir, I have a suggestion for you. I'll give you $1,000 a week. You pick me up. You take me, check me out of the prison with my crew, and then just bring me back when we have to come back and leave me alone. Who the hell do you think you are? I mean, like, really got tough on me. I'm like, all right, I'm telling you, I'm making you a good deal. So come Friday, we go back. So he's taking us at 3 o'clock. He's checking us in. He goes back to his truck, and all of the lawnmowers and them Toros, about $40,000 worth of equipment had disappeared. Man, he comes running like, where the hell is my equipment? I said, ask my guys, man, in the back of the truck. He's like, Valdes? I said, look, ask my guys. It was there about 2 minutes ago. So if someone stole it, you guys must have stolen it. So he looked at me, and he's like, pulled me aside. He said, this is my whole retirement. If I get to pay that money back, I'm dead. I said, well, I'll make you a deal. If you take my original offer and leave me alone, come Monday, if I can find who stole your equipment, I'll give you the $40,000. Well, I was there all weekend wondering, man, I hope that someone didn't run. We hid it by the beach at the Air Force, covered up with old palm trees and stuff, and we're like, man, I hope someone didn't run into the Toros. And sure enough, it was there Monday, and then he let me be. I ended up meeting a girl in prison, and who I ended up marrying, and she used to come and pick me every day on my detail. And I got so bold that I had an apartment 3 miles from the Air Force Base. And I bought from a high-ranking officer, I bought a sticker for a van. I bought a brand new van, and I put the sticker like if I was related to one of the generals or colonels, so not to give much away. So I'd come in and out of the base, and I used to say, man, if a drug dealer comes in and out of this base like he owns the place, I wonder what the damn Russians are doing. And so I remember when I left, I did every bit of it, and this lieutenant friend of mine came and said, George, come tell me the truth, man. I'm already outside the prison. He says, were you seeing your wife? I said, yeah. I said, where? We've been looking for you all over the place. And I said, where were you looking? He says, all over this base. I said, that's your problem. I was outside the base. He said, you didn't have the balls, did you? I said, every freaking day I left this base and came back.
Okay, so you end up doing the whole 15 years?
I ended up doing 5, which is the most you could do unless you get into an incident in the prison back then under the old laws. You do 1/3 of your sentence.
You only had to do a third.
Yeah, I didn't get no halfway house or nothing like that people get.